What's up, everybody? John from Florida Moto Talk here, and today I have a different type of video for you, kind of going along with the video that Tristan just released a couple months ago, where he talks about how much money it costs to maintain and to operate his Ducati sport bike. And so I don't have a Ducati sport bike. I have a Ninja 2013 636. I raced it last year with WERA, and I'm getting ready for another season now. So what I have planned for you today is just to go over my bike and talk about a couple of the modifications that I have, which isn't a whole lot. But more importantly, I want to tell everybody how much I spent on the bike, and then how much I'm going to spend as I prep the bike for this upcoming race season. So let's go through that right now. All right, so let's take a look at the bike. God dang! Missing a lot of parts right now. Prep is well in progress, which prepping the bike for the race season is something that you usually do over the winter time, but this winter we have pretty good weather all winter. It really didn't get cold down here in Florida. Doesn't ever, but it was a pretty warm winter, and so I was riding all through the winter, doing track days and just ripping it on this bad boy right here. So I didn't really have an opportunity to break it down. So I bought this bike probably about 3 years ago now. I bought it from another racer who was getting rid of it. He was upgrading to a ZX-10. Pretty well-known guy around the Southeast. And I bought this bike from him for $4,200. and I think it had about 7,000 miles on it at the time, maybe a little bit less. The bike had full race fairings, which are stored away up here. Drilled, everything was ready to go. Full race fairings. Had a lot of the stuff that I would need to get it ready for racing already done, because like I said, the guy previously raced it. So, and that's exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for a race bike. So it's all broken down now, but I can't show you a lot of the safety wiring and things like that. But the bike was fully safety wired when I got it. The ignition was deleted. So no key. There's no longer a key to start this bike. You start it with the kill switch and the starter, pretty much, which is great. Definitely want to have that, so you're not dealing around with keys and losing all those and everything. The bike had the RG, the case protectors on it, both sides. Those are required as well. And then as far as just upgrades, had the quick turn throttle on it, had the M4 exhaust pipe. I think this is just a decatted pipe, but I have another pipe coming for this thing here pretty soon too. Had the Vortex rear sets on it. These are great. Absolutely love them on both sides. The fully adjustable rear sets. And it also had the quick shifter, Translogic quick shifter, which I've had a couple different bikes with a couple different quick shifters on them. This thing shifts like butter. I mean, I've never had a smoother quick shifter than the Translogic. Man, that thing is nice. Under here in the tail, which for everything that I'm doing for the prep now, I won't have to take this off right now, but underneath the tail, it has a Power Commander 5. So PC5 running through the quick shifter. Also had the 520 chain already installed, -1 +2 gearing, and I have a whole plethora of different sprockets for this thing too that I run. It also had a Brembo master cylinder on it as well when I got it, but I run this bike in SuperStock, so I ripped that off and hopped on eBay and actually just found just the OEM Kawasaki Ninja, the brake master cylinder, the Nissan. Feels pretty good. Also had Vestra brake pads on it, which, dang, those things feel good too. The reservoir for the rear brake was also deleted in favor of this setup, which, I mean, it's really low profile. I like it, but I couldn't tell you the last time I hit the rear brake. So my bike, $4,200 out the door, pretty much set up to put it right back on the racetrack and go race it. And I pretty much raced it like that. Beyond that, I mean, I bought another set of wheels for it, fluids, of course, you know, swapped out the oil on it, swapped out the water that was in the coolant, put some water wetter in there. When I put on the OEM brake master cylinder, flushed all the brakes. Oh, it's also got steel lines on it as well. So my bike, ready to go, fresh out the box, didn't need much. I literally just had to refresh a couple things on it, get some race numbers printed out, which I actually tried to paint them myself. You can kind of see the paint under here still, but yeah, had some numbers printed out. 333, I'll be 333 for the 2024 season as well. Got to keep my number, that's great. And oh yeah, it came with the GPR damper on it as well. These are also required to race, but the one that was on there, it had a bracket for a different year, so I ended up having to buy the bracket for it, which was pretty expensive, and then I just sent the original GPR damper that was already on it back to GPR to get refreshed. So just very minor things for me to get this bad boy ready to go racing. So $4,200. So now let's talk about how much the refresh is going to cost, which is the whole point of this video. So let's talk some numbers. All right, so numbers. So to get this bike ready, I'm gonna flush out all the fluids, starting with the oil. So new oil, new filter, probably gonna be somewhere about 50 bucks. These numbers are gonna be just ballparks too, and then we'll add up all the ballparks at the end to see what we got. But probably about 50, 60 bucks. Oil, filter, done. Gonna swap out the coolant. Already have water wetter, and then just some regular water is going to go back in there. Just a gallon of water that you can buy freaking anywhere. Make sure it's distilled. Already got that. Going back in there. Boom. Next thing, brake fluid. I already have brake fluid too, but I mean, you get a bottle of brake fluid for like, 15, 20 bucks for the good stuff. Not a whole lot. And that'll be for the front and the rear. I'm going to bleed the front and the rear lines. Done. Basic stuff done. Now on to the bigger things. So I don't know how old this chain, the chain and the sprocket setup is on this thing, but it's getting pretty worn down if you ask me, especially the chain. The chain's got some spots in it where it's binding, and you can't really tell right now, but every time I take this thing out, I clean and I lube the chain. I'm pretty anal about the chain. You can't really tell right now because I just rode this thing, but I can't tell really how old it is. It's got that couple kinks in it, so swapping out chain and the sprockets. Brand new set. So got this vortex right here, and then the sprockets are in here somewhere as well. Gonna go -1 +2 for the setup again, because that gearing is the gearing that I use the most. That was $175 for the kit that I went with, which was the Vortex, the 520, the SX3 in gold, of course. Gotta go gold on the chain. What are y'all doing using these silver chains? Gotta go gold. And then black rear sprocket and regular silver front sprocket. But $175, $15.45 on the gearing. Done. And so next, I am getting rid of the Stock Master. I plan on running the bike in super bike class this upcoming season, so getting rid of that Stock Master cylinder just because the Brembo feels so much better. So I went with the Brembo Master. Got another one of these. This one is actually the Brembo, the 19x18 without the folding lever. Yeah, I can't talk about it. And this bad boy is pretty much what I had on there before I took off the old Brembo Master. And this thing is gonna feel butter. It's gonna feel like butter. It's gonna stop on a dime. I cannot wait to test that out once I get that back on there. Then swapping out the brake lines too, because the brake lines that I have on there now are starting to deteriorate right here around the like the rubber base plates right here. And I mean, it's not leaking or anything. It's not really a big deal. But yeah, that's gonna be my excuse to go ahead and get a new set. Better safe than sorry. So I went ahead and got the Spieglers, new set of Spiegler brake lines with the 2-line setup. So there's going to be 2 lines going from the Brembo Master. So 1 line is going to go to each caliper on the bike. Went with the silver lines, with the silver connector. And for these were $115 for the Spiegler complete setup line. And then I also have a new reservoir. I didn't really need to get a new reservoir for the brake fluid, but got that here. So I'm gonna run the Spiegler lines with the Brembo Master 19x18 through just a new reservoir, and then I also have the mounting kit, pretty much just a little bracket that comes. Well, it doesn't come with it, but you can get that to mount the new reservoir. The reservoir that I have on there is still pretty new as well, because it came with the OEM master cylinder that I bought. But I'm just gonna run the new one just so just less to worry about. So not a really big deal. I'm also gonna pair that with new set of brake pads. I had wanted to go with the Vesras, but a buddy of mine over at the Trackside Parts Club hooked up this order for me, by the way. Gave me a great deal on everything. Put their link in the description. But I had wanted to go with the Vesras, and I'm pretty comfortable and familiar with the Vesras, but price was becoming an option at this point. So I'm gonna try these new set of brake pads that I haven't tried before, and they're the SBS, the RST brake pads, and they're supposed to be like a pretty entry-level racing pad, but also a track day pad. So I'm gonna try them out. I mean, at the price, and they came highly recommended. So I'm gonna give them a shot. But these were 95 bucks for both. There's another level that's beyond these, and it was pretty much double the price. So I was like, yeah, well, I'm gonna run these pads, and then if I don't like them, I'll upgrade. But we're gonna give them a shot. But I mean, man, I'm running them through the Brembo Master with the speaker lines. I mean, they're gonna stop, and hopefully they're gonna stop good. But I still have my Vestras as well, which I can still run those. I mean, they still got a lot of meat on them. So those couple little upgrades put me at about around $800. I'll put the exact total on here somewhere because I don't want to know at all. Don't tell me. I probably won't even watch this video because I don't want to know. And hopefully my wife doesn't watch this video either, because I give her a hard time when she's buying shoes and all that stuff too. We're not going to tell her that I just went and spent like $800 on bike parts that I needed. But anyways, just a couple little upgrades, very minor things that I needed. So once I get all that stuff on the bike is going to be in a pretty good spot. But if you can notice, we're still missing something very important. It ain't got no forks, as we say it down south. It ain't got no suspension. And that's because I ripped it off, and the suspension is already at Thermosman with Thermosman up in Georgia. And he's pretty much going to get the suspension, rip it apart, and give them a little bit of an upgrade. And when I say upgrade, I mean, I consider it an upgrade, and I think most people would too. But Thermosman, he's pretty much gonna take the front forks, take the rear shock, and they're gonna get revalved, gonna get new springs, new bushings, new seals, pretty much all the little internal pieces that control the flow of the fluid. And hopefully I can get a little bit of performance out of them, a little bit better feedback, a little more feel. And with the rear shock, he's gonna get that thing revalved, and then it's gonna get a new spring, and then everything's gonna get set up for my weight as well. He's got a pretty good waiting list going on right now though, especially with the Moto America season starting. So I'm on about a 3-week, probably about 3 weeks out before I get it back. And then I don't really want to start doing too much on the bike until I get the forks back on, so I can just put everything back together methodically. So I'm looking at least about 3 weeks to get those back. But I took those off the bike. It's very easy to get them off, and I sent them to Thermosman, and that service to get all that done is going to be about 800 bucks, give or take a little bit. And that's really on the cheaper end. He does a lot of high-end work. I mean, people send him K-Tech, send him Olin's, you know, cartridges and everything else. So I'm still rocking the stock suspension, but hopefully once we make those small changes, it's gonna perform a little bit better, because I have been thinking really hard about going with full suspension, but just the price tag, man, and we're budget racing around here. So I actually saw a used set of it was front forks with K-Tech cartridges, and then the rear K-Tech shock, and the guy online wanted about like $1,400. Man, that, whew, I'm still thinking about that. But budget racing, we got to keep it on a budget. So I'm gonna run the stock stuff for one more season with those internal upgrades, new fluids, everything else, get it set up again with the spring set up for my weight compared to the soft OEM springs. I'm just hoping I can get some performance out of that. The next season, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go full suspension depending on how things go. But for now, budget option with the suspension, just send it off, get it revalved, get new springs for your weight. It's kind of like the cheap man's suspension upgrade, but it's better than nothing. Ken Hill actually just put out a good video on suspension upgrades too. You should check that out because he talks about that in there. So all in all, compared to what most, well, yeah, I'd say most, compared to what most people spend racing bikes and getting them ready, this was the budget setup for sure. This was pretty much the lower end of, and I could have got away a lot cheaper too, but it's just some things that I wanted to change. Like I said, the Brembo Master, a little bit of a splurge. Needed the brake lines. The chain was getting a little bindy. Sprockets were getting a little bit worn, so had to do that. All the fluids are absolutely required. The suspension, I doubt that it has ever been refreshed or got any fluids. So I'm going to assume that that was way overdue too. However, you can still get by without doing that. But I want to give myself, you know, as much of an advantage as I can within the budget. I don't know if the suspension has ever had that fluid poured out since 2013, right? We're in 2024 now. So why take the chance, spend the money and do it? Putting on the new brake pads. I mean, that's pretty much it, right? And once I get my suspension back, get all that back in here, and we will pretty much be good to put all the rest of the modifications back on, get my fluid swapped out, boom, back on the racetrack, done. I was even thinking about getting my fairings repainted, but man, budget, because that's going to be another 500 bucks. And oh yeah, another splurge too. I mentioned that I had another exhaust coming. I won't add that into the budget with this video because that is a definite splurge factor too. But I looked online and my M4 runs fine, but I don't know. But I ended up, I couldn't find anything used. I screwed around. There was a sweet used M4 Tech 1, the race system. Man, dude wanted 800 bucks for it, missed it. Searched around a little bit more. Hindle has the exhaust system, same thing, full exhaust headers all the way back, and it's only like 830 bucks for the stainless steel one. So I'll go ahead and get that too. My bike was having a little bit of an issue with top end, and at that time I was running this shorty pipe, but I also had the highest level baffle that you can have in here, and I'm not a freaking, I don't know anything about engine tuning, but my bro garage mind tells me that maybe that the muffle in the back, that DB killer, might have affected my top end. But whatever, we're not going down that rabbit hole. But I got a new full system coming for that, so another 800 bucks for that. But we can scratch that from the grand total because I don't need it. So all in all, bought the bike $4,200 a couple years ago, super cheap. Got a great deal on it. You can find deals like this too. Florida Motor Talk. That's what we do. We try to help bring you all good deals so you can get out there riding just like we do. So $4,200 for the bike. As far as all the parts that I bought for the refresh, I will. Man, I don't even want to say what the title is. I don't want to say what the total is because I don't want to know, man. My bank account knows. As long as I don't know and my wife don't know, we're good. I don't want to know, but I'll put it somewhere. I'll put it in the, we'll do like an end credit screen and put it in there where I can watch it at the end of the video. So when my wife is watching this, I can cut the video off before she sees what the total was. But to get the bike ready, boom, about $4,200 plus another couple $100 for the things you need, fluids, oil, brake fluid. You're gonna need brake pads for sure. And then just when you're prepping for the season, you're gonna, hopefully you don't have to refresh your forks because that's gonna be a big one, but I think most people can get by without doing that. And then, I mean, that's pretty much it, right? Replace your wear and tear items, replace your fluids, check your brake lines. Send it, man, send it. Super cheap. Super, in the grand scheme of things, super cheap. I'm not spending a lot of money compared to all the other people that are doing this sport and, you know, putting a whole lot into it. And fortunately for me, I mean, $800, what I spent for the things that I felt like the bike needed and a couple of things that I wanted, whatever. 800 bucks is a lot of money for parts. 800 bucks to get your suspension reworked is a lot of money, but don't let that scare you. That's just what I did. You can get this done for far less cheaper. You can buy bikes that are ready to go for a couple $1,000. But for me to get this thing running, to keep this thing competitive, that's what I decided to do. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully, you know, it's opens your eyes to how much you can spend for a bike. But like I said, this is on, what I'm spending is on the low end. I mean, we're just getting by, but you can go even lower than that. You can go 10 times higher than that. But hopefully this video helps somebody. You guys can kind of see some of what the real costs are just to get the bike ready to go. So hopefully you enjoyed, and I will see you on the next one when I get this thing back together. That'll be fun. We'll probably do a video on that too.